Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel for my review of Boku no Hero Academia chapter 308. And in this chapter we can really see that Deku has the mentality of someone who is on the run right now, because throughout the entire chapter, or at least in the very beginning of the chapter, he is doing his best to make sure that he is not seen by anyone besides Muscular. Because we see him using the smokescreen technique of the sixth user of One for All throughout the entirety of the beginning of the chapter to hide his identity. Because in the beginning of the chapter, we see those old men in the building that they were actually trying to evacuate say that there's so much smoke that they actually can't see what's going on the battlefield down below them. And then of course, because Nakagami's worried about Shindo, she rushes down to the bottom floor to get outside to help him out. And then once she gets out there, she sees Deku rushing towards her, but she doesn't really get to see who he is. She just sees a body covered in smoke carrying Shindo, hands him off to her, and then he runs back over to fight against Muscular. The entire time he's covered in smoke so that she cannot identify him, but she does recognize his voice, so she knows that he knows him from somewhere, but because of the smoke she can't see through clearly enough to see exactly who it is. So yeah, this beginning portion of the chapter really shows that Deku does not want anyone knowing where he is and what he's doing. And I think it's clear as to why, because if he was, alright, for one, obviously right now because of the fact that he does not have a license as a pro hero, and since he left UA, he's not associated with that school anymore. Right now, Deku is definitely a vigilante. The only real difference between him and the civilians and the other vigilantes that the Hero Society has been trying to stop from basically going out and fighting villains is that he actually has official training. So if a pro hero saw him fighting off against villains, they would definitely try to stop him. And on top of that, Deku doesn't want to be found by anyone from UA or his family. So on the off chance that Nakagami and Shindo were to recognize him and then basically identify that, hey, he was over here a few days ago at this city to anyone from UA, that would make them one step closer to finding Deku, which would put them in danger again. So obviously he wants to keep his identity a secret from those two who could recognize him. Although I'm still kind of under the impression that All Might might be on this journey with him, we just haven't seen him right now because obviously All Might doesn't have his quirk anymore, so he wouldn't be useful in this fight. So he might just be watching from the sidelines from a distance. But I mean, that being said, I guess he wouldn't really need All Might on this journey with him anymore, because we can see in this chapter that Deku now has the ability to talk to each of the vestiges of the previous users of One for All pretty openly without having to be in that vestige world that we've seen him go to talk to them before. So I guess he really wouldn't need All Might with him to be like his mentor, because now he actually has the people who actually had the quirks originally and know exactly how they work to kind of mentor him on how to use those abilities to their best ability. And actually, you know what? I just thought of something. If Deku doesn't have All Might with him on his journey, then he's definitely being hunted down by every single pro hero in the entirety of Japan. Because now Endeavor, Hawks, and Best Genius know what's going on with the whole One for All and All for One situation. And because of the fact that they know that Shigaraki and One for All are definitely going to be hunting down Deku, they would want to keep a close eye on him. So him going on this journey by himself, basically just going rogue, definitely does not work for them. And they would definitely try to bring him back to UA and try to keep him under lock and key. And the only way I see them letting him go on this training journey without their supervision is if All Might's there and he's basically keeping track and basically communicating with the three of them on where they are, what they're doing, and exactly what the situation is at all times. Now, getting into the fight is actually kind of cool the way we actually get to see Muscular interact with Deku in the chapter, because I actually figured that he would be out for revenge against Deku, but no, he is ecstatic to see Deku because of the fact that he sees Deku, even more than when he fought against All Might, as being the most fun fight he's ever had. And he really just wants to have that excitement, that thrill of going all out against him one more time. So we see that Deku's a little hesitant to get into an all-out fight against Muscular because, well, for one thing, the last time they fought, he was tanking a lot of Deku's 100% power punches. So, you know, Deku knows that this is not going to be an easy fight. But on top of that, his experience with Shigaraki in the last arc kind of changed Deku's perspective with villains, because now he's trying to, before he takes out a villain at the very least, it seems like in this chapter, he's trying to understand what their mentality is and trying to, like, see if he can possibly talk them out of going down this route of being a villain, because in the chapter he tries to understand why Muscular is doing what he's doing, which ends up coming down to Muscular just saying, I have this power that lets me destroy things, so I just want to use it to my fullest ability before I die. So it was kind of pointless on Deku's part to really even try to see if he can convince Muscular into changing his ways, but we can now see that Deku has the mentality of, I'm not going to just fight against villains, I'm going to see if I can save them as well. And you know, I actually kind of like this approach that Deku's going to be taking with villains going forward, trying to talk them out of being villains before fighting against them. Because there actually are some people that he will end up fighting against that we saw escape from Tartarus that actually this might work against. Like, for one, Stain. Stain might actually be willing to talk to Deku and actually accept his mentality or accept his persuasion of not being a villain anymore. And that girl prisoner we saw release Overhaul, she seems like she actually might be a pretty decent person. So if he ends up coming across her and having to fight against her, she might be willing to accept his mentality and actually be persuaded by him not to be a villain anymore. And truthfully, we don't even know if she actually is a villain right now. Now, the actual fight between Deku and Muscular is really cool because we get to see Deku actually use the quirks of the 4 previous users of One For All that we actually have names for. So we get to see him use the third, or not the third, the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th users' abilities. We don't get to see him use the 2nd and 3rd just yet because we still haven't seen exactly what their abilities are or even gotten their names just yet. But we do get a pretty cool shot of him comboing Danger Sense and Black Whip together to dodge some of Muscular's attacks, which definitely Horikoshi was taking inspiration from Spider-Man in this scene. Now during this fight, Deku actually gets to show exactly how smart and how much of a tactical fighter he is, because he leads Muscular into like an open area so they can actually have a one-shot attack on him, uses Black Whip to basically throw him onto the ground because the two of them were in the air at the moment, and then once they are on the ground, he just dives right in and throws a 100%, or we assume 100% smash on Muscular to knock him out at the end of the chapter. And the reason why he realized that he can do this, even though Muscular usually would tank a 100% punch from Deku, is because Deku actually realizes early on in the fight that Shindo's attack from the last chapter actually did some damage to Muscular, damaging some of his muscle fibers. So he knew that Muscular wouldn't be able to tank one of his attacks anymore. He just needed to get him to a situation where he could easily attack him. And that's pretty much what happens at the end of the chapter. He gets him to an open space where he can actually use his enhanced speed to basically rush Muscular before he can dodge and land a blow on him. Now we don't actually get to see the fight end in this chapter because we don't know if Muscular is actually down for the count, but we can see that it actually did a lot of damage to him in this chapter. And that's pretty much where the chapter ends. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what happens in the next chapter, because I assume if this fight actually does end in the next chapter early on, like in the beginning of it, we find out that Deku actually did one-shot Muscular, then we're going to end up finding out exactly what's going on with Deku in the rest of the chapter. Like, is he actually on the run by himself? Does he have All Might and possibly Bakugo with him? Because I still think that if All Might goes on a journey with Deku to train him, then there's no way Bakugo's going to be left behind. He's definitely going to be following right behind him, at the very least. And I actually kind of think, even if All Might isn't there, if anyone's going to end up finding out where Deku is, it's going to be Bakugo. He most likely, as soon as he read Deku's note, was like, fuck that, and ran after him, was searching everywhere high and low for him. But anyway, guys, that's it for this week's chapter of Boku no Hero Academia. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about the chapter. I have a feeling that a lot of fans are actually going to be a little disappointed by the fight between these two characters, because it wasn't as brutal as the last one. Personally, I really enjoyed this fight, possibly even a little bit more than the last one, just because I kind of enjoy seeing Deku be a tactical fighter more than just like an all-out brute strength kind of guy. But that's just me personally. Let me know in the comment section down below what you actually thought about it. But that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like. I would really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you again, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.